climbing through the political ranks, starting anew after being thrown out, becoming the leader of his home country, creating a full decade of lasting peace and prosperity, and finally being killed by those he ruled over. This is a documentary of Italian dictator named Benito Mussolini. Mussolini was born in Italy on July 29, 1883. Mussolini started his early life as a disobedient child, where he would often break any rule given to him, such as the time where he stabbed another kid with a penknife. His father was a profound socialist and taught Mussolini his political views when Mussolini was just a child. Despite his disobedient childhood, Mussolini was a smart kid and became a teacher after he obtained his teaching certificate. After teaching, Mussolini fled Italy and moved to Switzerland in order to avoid military service. While in Switzerland, he also wrote for a socialist newspaper called The Workers' Future. He later was arrested by the Swiss and deported back to Italy. When Mussolini came back to Italy, he served 2 years in the army and started teaching again. He later moved to Yentro in Austria-Hungary and wrote about nationalism and militarism. In 1912, he wrote for Italy's Socialist Party newspaper called Forward. During World War I, Mussolini objected to his party's view on Italy's stance on the war. His stance on the war would cause him to be ousted from his party. Outraged by his party's reaction, Mussolini created the fascist movement. During all of this, Mussolini wrote about his support for Italy's war efforts in the newspaper The People of Italy. In order to increase the power of his fascist movement, Mussolini created a group called the Black Shirts, which were armed unemployed veterans, who were used to threaten other political parties. In 1922, Mussolini led the March on Rome, where 30,000 black shirts demanded that Italy make Mussolini the leader of Italy. With the help of King Victor Emmanuel III, Mussolini was appointed prime minister.
Mussolini was a man who wanted to do right for his nation. He demanded for a dictator to take power and shared his ideas to know how to be a good leader. He wanted to confront the economic and political events that were happening currently. This time was known as the Bienio Rosso, or the Red Years. To solve this problem, he decided to meet up with a group of people that consisted of Republicans and restless revolutionaries. This group was created in Milan. The group who liked Mussolini's ideas were called Fasci di Combattimento. He then started to have authority of the fascist movement, built a base of support with ideas of nationalism and anti-Bolsheviks. At the beginning of his dictatorship, he provided peace for the people. Mussolini's public works programs helped the military, industry, and church and farmers for a decade. Mussolini then wanted to take his power and manifest it. With the influence of Hitler, Mussolini wanted to get revenge from Ethiopia and tried to take over their land. Italy had lost from Ethiopia in the Battle of Ottawa, and this provoked Mussolini to do something about it. In 1935, he declared war and successfully conquered Ethiopia. With the power of Mussolini, he constructed a network of secret policemen and spies to look over the population of Italy to watch for any suspicion that would harm Mussolini's power of authority. Eventually, they captured a man named Giacomo Matteotti. This man had critics in parliament. Fortunately for the assassination of Matteotti, Mussolini continued to get hold of his power. Italy also had alliances with other countries. They were in a political and a military alliance with Japan and Germany. Unfortunately, these countries had disagreements. Japan wanted to use their alliance to go against the Soviet Union, but since Mussolini and Hitler shared many ideas among themselves, they desired to use their alliance potential towards the British Empire and France. Due to this disagreement, Japan decided to leave the alliance, so the only countries that were left were Germany and Italy. These countries formed the Pact of Steel, or the Pact of Friendship and Alliance.
Mussolini built himself a leaning tower based on war, and as Italy began to lose their campaigns, Mussolini's tower leaned farther and farther. Mussolini attended a meeting for the Grand Council of Fascism. While at this meeting, the other members of the council motioned for Mussolini to be stripped of some of his power and forced to hand it over to King Victor Emmanuel. When Mussolini left this meeting, he went to a routine meeting with the king, and he was told that Pietro Bergoglio would become the new prime minister and Mussolini would be completely removed from power. As Mussolini left his meeting with the king, he was arrested. Mussolini was arrested because the council had lost faith in him. Mussolini was never entirely unhappy with being relieved of his power, as he had a hard time with his campaigns in the war and was mentally and physically exhausted. He was sent to live on the prison settlement Ponza. Mussolini had been moved from prison to prison to avoid rescue. Mussolini escaped the Alps with the help of a squad of Nazi paratroopers. Hitler made Mussolini a figurehead of fascism in northern Italy. He then tried to flee Italy with his mistress, but was captured in a blue Alfa Romeo. Mussolini was then executed on the 28th of April, 1945. Hitler then ordered the SS to hang the bodies.
Mussolini's goals and political party were the Fascist Party, and the Fascist Party's goals were to increase the economy in Italy and unite Italy into the Third Roman Empire. Mussolini did not believe in the anti-Semitic beliefs that Hitler believed in, but as Hitler's power grew and his influence over Mussolini grew, Mussolini had to adopt the anti-Semitic roles that he didn't want to in the beginning.